Welcome to This Day with BJ Arnett, and I'm BJ Arnett. Today is a wonderful day, as every day, but today we're talking about your money. I want you to sit back and relax, but I want you to get involved with this because our finances are something that we need to hold and multiply so that we can be a help to others, correct? So with that thought in mind, welcome with me my guest today, Investing with Integrity, a key term, integrity. And I want to say hello to Lauren Graham. Did I say your name right?
You did, thank you.
Yay! Well, you know, what intrigues me about this is that many Christians don't have a good hold on their financial statements, or on their portfolio, if you will. And I know that you have been blessed with an understanding of a program, or I guess I would call it a program, that can really help us think better about how we are to steward our finances and our portfolio. First of all, tell us about this 3 little words that can change our lives.
Thank you. So, biblically responsible investing.
Talk to me about what that means and how we get our lives in order with biblical responsible investing.
Sure, thanks BJ. So really it's the idea that we can align our investment choices with biblical faith values. And so just as we're trying to steward our money and how we spend, give, and define our lifestyle, we can also make investing part of our daily act of vital worship.
How do you do that? Because, you know, investing a part of our daily, I don't know how I put that in my head. First of all, I've got to know what's in my portfolio, but how do I really know? I don't know. I know your background is finances and all that, and you're this big investment person, but I don't understand what y'all do. Let me just say that. I don't understand what y'all do, because there's this portfolio that has all of these companies that I'm investing in. I don't know about them. I don't know how they work. So tell me, what is my responsibility? Sure, I can do some research. I can find out who the companies are, but where do I go from there?
Sure, so we don't know what we don't know, right? So the key is really to work with fund managers and portfolio managers who understand and have done the research and are monitoring these companies and what corporations are actually doing. And so the analogy I like to give is hiring an employee. So let's say it's a kindergarten principal and he's looking for a quality teacher, right? He knows all of the characteristics that go into making a great teacher, right? Just a love of children, patience, empathy, of course, having all the right teaching credentials. And so once he's found a great candidate, the very last thing that any employer would do in the process is a background check.
Yes.
And so in the same way, portfolio managers or professional investors know what make for great investments in companies, right? Whether it's a great product or a service, they're growing in a key market, or they've got a discounted value to their stock price. Once they find a great company that they think will earn a good return on investment, of course nothing's guaranteed, right? Then they'll go through this last step of a background check. And so there's databases now that are monitoring corporate behavior, and we can plug into those and really shine a light and see what we're investing in.
I guess that's, you know, I'm going to say something really girly right now, but it's kind of like when I look into the people who I buy my cosmetics. If they're doing animal cruelty in their testing and their development of products, I don't buy that product. So it's the same thing, but I would go to my investment analyst and to the person that is responsible for growing my portfolio to ask the hard questions. What does this company do, and how do they do it? Give me an example, and I know you have some great stories, but give me an example of someone who has used this principle that gives us a better way to see that, yeah, that's important that we do it that way.
Sure. So I'll use an example of, you know, I know a topic that's important to Christian believers is on the idea of defending the innocent and the unborn, right? And
Yes.
so we might have a situation where, let's say, a person is donating to a pro-life pregnancy crisis clinic, and they're passionate about that, and they're writing their legislator about that, and they might unknowingly own a company in their IRA, for example, that is funding Planned Parenthood.
Wow. Wow, that would really bother me, because I'm a grandmother of many, many wonderful, beautiful faces. That would bother me. But you're saying to me we can actually find that out.
We can find that out, absolutely.
You also told me a wonderful story about South Africa. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so the first opportunity is to align our values personally, right? We can honor, this is just another area where we can seek to honor God, right?
Yes.
And so there's that personal faith alignment. But let's think bigger for a minute. What if, imagine if every Christian believer invested this way, we could have a dramatic impact on corporate culture, on Wall Street, really the global capital markets. And to understand how that could happen, we can look just back to history in the 1970s, and I'll tell you a story about a man named Leon Sullivan. And he was on the board of directors for General Motors. And what he saw, and now this is when General Motors was on top of the world.
Yes.
They were the largest employer in South Africa. And what he saw was that the business practices were actually supporting the system of apartheid in South Africa. And so, and he called apartheid one of the greatest evils of his time that he needed to address. And so he wrote up a code of conduct that became known as the Sullivan Principles for how companies should be dealing ethically in South Africa. And so that caught fire. And what happened was you saw pensions, cities, governments, university endowments begin to divest to move capital out of companies that were not adhering to these Sullivan Principles. And historians actually credit, in addition to the political pressure, that this was a significant economic pressure that contributed to the end of apartheid.
That is so awesome.
So.
For those of us who have that learning curve that might be kind of large, give me 3 things that we need to do with a quickness in order to capture this and to take control of our portfolio, to understand that we are doing the right thing and we are investing with integrity.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I would recommend is that you read the book, Investing with Integrity, and then pray through the scriptures. So the 3 things: I would pray through the scriptures, I would talk to your pastor about the idea and how we could do this, and then talk to your financial advisor. See if they can implement this for you, and then just be faithful to whatever God's calling you to do.
When you take a look at the numbers of people in your career, now, are you an investment analyst, or?
So I have an independent wealth advisory practice in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
And we're seeking to, we implement this for our clients.
Well, when you look at all of your clients who have grabbed a hold of this concept and understanding, what would you say was the transforming moment, or that, like I like to say when I'm teaching, when that light comes on over their head and they go, oh, I got it, this is what we need to do?
Absolutely. Well, I think it just, this is not something that's a guilt decision or a judgment thing. We're not passing judgment on these companies or their leaders. All we're saying is we're looking at the consumer and saying, are the companies we're investing in a blessing to others, or are they causing harm? And so it's that extension of loving our neighbor. And so what I see in our clients is just a joy that they're looking back on what Christ has already done on the cross for them, and this is just another way that they can honor and serve their Lord, really.
When you take a look at the general finances of the Christian community, are we investing generally? Are we investing correctly? Are we being good stewards of our finances. I say that with a thought of, maybe not. But really, are we? Because it is important, because we are supposed to be those who are giving, who are lending. We are not the borrowers. So how do we capture our own finances and be so responsible and integrous that we get it?
Yeah. Well, here's the key. The key is God owns it all, right? Psalm 24, the heavens and the earth are the Lord's and everything in it. And so we're just stewards, as you said, of everything that is entrusted to us. And so there are absolutely biblical principles, wisdom principles for doing that in terms of how we give, how we avoid the use of debt, how we save for the future. And it's absolutely biblical to provide for the needs of our family. That's biblical. It's biblical to provide an inheritance
For our children and our children's children.
Absolutely, the Proverbs tell us that. So we have an obligation on the one hand to aim for the best return that we can and be a good steward of making that money grow, as you said earlier, and at the same time honoring the Lord and doing it in a way that's glorifying to Him. And so what's exciting is in the last 5 years or so, and this isn't my idea, BJ, this is something that, I mean, has been a movement that's been forming over the last 10, 15 years. Yeah, and so we're just seeing this really hit the tipping point of something really big. And so what's exciting is that it's possible to do both. You can earn a return that's adequate for your individual needs and goals, and in some cases be doing even better, although that's not guaranteed either. And then at the same time, just doing it in a way that's glorifying to God. There's been an expansion of the talent pool of the type of managers that are doing this, and the fund choices available, and so it's a really exciting time.
I know you're a husband and you're a father, and with just a few minutes left, how do you explain this to the growing generation, the generation below you call your children?
Right.
As they grow up, how will you instill this in them?
So really, what I would say is that, in a lot of ways there's been a disconnect between the investor, which is the source of capital, and the investment or the corporation who's using the capital. And so really it's about reconnecting the dots. So we understand what we're investing in and what they're doing, and so we can be sure that we're reflecting God's love and compassion in the marketplace. And if we do that, BJ, we can literally change the world.
Sounds like you're just going to move by example, and those young people in your household are going to see it and understand.
Absolutely.
I really like investing with integrity, and I know this book will do very, very well. I want you to understand that what you're doing, I think money is one of the most difficult things for people to get their minds wrapped around, whether they are Christian or not. But when you're talking about investing with integrity, you've opened the door to a lot of things that we really need to take a look at, just to be responsible, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. And one of my mentors, Ron Blue, used to say that every financial decision is really a spiritual decision.
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Pretty awesome stuff. Look, I know you're always saying to yourself, hey, do I have to learn something all the time? If you're not learning, you are not growing. Now, here's the thing. Use what you've learned. This is BJ. God bless.